Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you my process for making a pumpkin. This is the one that we'll be working on today. And at the end of the video, I'll also talk about some variations to the pattern to make it your own. So if you want to see how I made this pendant, just stay tuned. All right, to get started with our pumpkin, I have 4 pieces of 20 gauge square dead soft copper wire, and I'm going to be weaving those together with 26 gauge round dead soft wire. And the cabachon I'm working with today is a 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter circular cabachon. All right, with my first base wire, I'm going to coil my 26 gauge weaving wire around this 5 times. And I'm going to add my second base wire, and I'm going to coil these together 6 times. You'll notice I did not coil these so tightly that my 2 wires would come together. I do want to keep a little bit of space in between there because I'm going to be putting the weaving wire through that little area as well. So don't use too much tension on this weaving wire as you're coiling it. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my third base wire, and I'm going to coil the third base wire to the second base wire. We're going to add our 4th and final base wire, and just like before, I'm going to coil this base wire to the base wire before it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm leaving a little bit of space so that I can weave back down in the other direction. All right, so I'm just going to mirror the pattern onto the other side, and I did do 6 coils onto this top one as well. So it's just 6 coils around each of the doubled up base wires. And then I have just 5 coils down on the very last base wire. All right, so we have our little frame ready, and now I'm just going to start shaping it to fit around the cabachon into a little pumpkin shape. I do have this little mandrel that I'm going to use just to get my shape started so that I can keep it nice and symmetrical. I'm going to be focusing on my two back base wires first. I want to get those shaped nice and snug around my stone and get it trapped, and then I can start shaping the top two to look like my little pumpkin creases. All right, this part can be a little tricky, but this is what I've come up with for my pumpkin design. And so I just fiddle with it until I get it right. So these back two wires I want to bring in, and actually I need them. So these back two wires I want to bring in a little bit onto the back of the stone. That's what's going to be holding our stone in place from behind, obviously. And then I'm going to take my top two and just continue shaping those around. I'm going to take my pliers and start to get some bends into these wires. Alright, so I'm going to flip this over. I want to get my back wires bent around the same area as these front wires because I'm going to want to tie them all together. And this is gonna look a little sloppy as you're going, but it doesn't really matter because in the end, we're gonna be covering all of this up with our faux vine look. So don't worry too much if this gets a little wonky as you're going. Okay. I've got these pretty much how I want them. I'm going to mess with them a little bit more with my fingers, and then I'm going to take some 24 gauge wire and I'm just going to get the back two tied together and then get those two tied to the front, and then we'll be able to start with these last two wires. I'm going to take my 24 gauge round dead soft wire and I'm going to start just coiling these back two base wires together. Okay, I've got two good tight coils on these back wires here. So I'm going to go ahead and coil them just a couple times onto the front wires. And I'm also going to coil this tail down here around this wire and cut that off. All right, and I'm just going to leave my 24 gauge wire here. I am going to go ahead and start shaping my 2 front wires into my little pumpkin creases. And once I have those all up at the top together, I'll use this wire to just tie everything together and get my bale started. Alright, so once I have all of my front wires pressed in and shaped together, I'm just going to take this 24 gauge wire and really tightly coil it around, probably 5 or 6 times, get everything nice and flush together, and then I'll separate out some wires from the back to make my bale. All right, I'm going to separate the front wires from each other just to give myself a little more room back here. And I'm just gonna coil up probably 6 to 10 times maybe, and that's gonna be what I'm gonna use for my bale. Alright, I'm going to pinch these wires near the base so I can get a good bend on each one on the sides. I'm going to leave this wire right where it's at. Alright, this wire we're going to snip off, and I want to make sure that I can tuck it into the bale so it's out of the way. And we're just going to finish this one by wrapping it around, and we're going to wrap this one into it. Alright, and so now we can just cut this one off and make a little loop with it. Alright, and now I'm just going to take my remaining wires and I'm going to shape my little vines.
just right, I can't explain it. It feels so simple, loving always. It feels just right, I can't explain it.
Alright, now that I have the look that I want to my little vines, I'm going to take some 26 gauge wire and I'm going to tie off all of my loops so that they don't snag or anything, and then I'll show you how we add the leaves.
So simple, loving always. It feels just right, I can't explain it. It feels so simple, loving always. It feels just right, I can't explain it.
Alright, and now I'm just going to add my little leaves. I'm using these Peridot chip beads, and I have a piece of 24 gauge wire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a place somewhere on the back that I can anchor this wire and tie it off. And then I'm just going to use this wire to weave through all these little faux vines that I made. And I'm just going to put the leaves where I feel like they're going to fill in the space nicely. And I'll add some little loops to this wire as I pull it through, just to give it a little bit more of an organic feel to it. And you can just kind of, again, go with the flow. Just let these vines go wherever they look nice. All right, so here's our finished pumpkin. And obviously this design can really be personalized. You can make these vines look however you want. You can use different stones for the leaves if you like. You can use actual tiny little leaf charms. I've seen a lot of people do that. You don't have to just use a circular cabochon. You can also make these with oval shaped cabochons. And you can also make them with even somewhat oddly shaped stones like this Petoskey stone I have here. And you can also change up your bale a little bit. So this bale, if you can see, I actually have a little bit more weaving done to it, if you can see. And then you can actually also do just 2 wires for your bale instead of 3. And if you do just 2 wires for your bale, you'll actually have another, obviously, extra wire to make another vine with on the front. And you'll still do that bale the same way. You'll just use 1 of those wires to wrap around and tie it together, and you'll still finish that other wire off with a little loop, just like on the other one we did. Alright guys, thanks so much for joining me for this project today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to help me make more of these tutorials, please hit the like button and consider sharing on your social media because that's really what helps my channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, feel free to share pictures of your creations with me. I love to see what my tutorials inspire. And I just want to end by saying have a fantastic day and remember to love your neighbor as yourself and in all things treat others as you want to be treated, for this is the law and the prophets. God bless you guys, and I hope to see you in the next video.